Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to another Avengers Doomsday live stream. Yes, we did one of these live streams a few days ago, where we talked about kind of the cast of characters coming into Avengers Doomsday. You know, with the X-Men announcement, with also the announcement of the certain MCU heroes coming back, and of course, there was a list of 27 actors. 27 actors were brought in and announced at that coverage on Wednesday. Now, what a lot of people and me seemed to notice was that there were some missing characters on there, some very important missing characters. So I have gone and created a list of 35 characters from least likely to most likely that might appear in Avengers Doomsday. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into my list right now. All right. So what you can see first of all is we're starting off at number 35 with Eternals. Now, why do I think Eternals is the least likely group of characters to appear in the movie? It has been well known by Marvel that this movie, these people are not coming back. You know, they were going to do an Eternals 2, canceled it, and the only connection we've really gotten to the Eternals was in Captain America: Brave New World, and Brave New World did not go well for Marvel. Did not go well critically and financially. So you can see here that maybe Marvel's like, maybe we don't really need the Eternals in Doomsday or Secret Wars because first off, it's going to be a lot of characters, and you know, there's going to be a question: how did they get back? Did they meet Arishem? Did they do all that? You know, there's going to be a lot of questions in there. So I have to think that the Eternals are the least likely amount of characters. Every single one. Every single one. I don't think any of them are actually going to show up in Avengers Doomsday. All right. The next character. Echo. See, you might there is like a bit of a discussion where it's like, oh, you know, Echo was in Hawkeye. Hawkeye could show up. I'm like, yeah, Hawkeye most likely will show up. We'll talk about him later and his sidekick, Kate Bishop. But Echo is a very character that I don't think adds a lot to the movie. Like, what is Echo gonna do against Doom? Was she gonna kick her in the face? Was he gonna shoot a gun? Like, Echo does not seem like a character you really need to come back and explore. In my opinion, I don't even think Marvel even wants to go back to Echo at all, just because this character, you know, was a very missed character for them, you know, in Hawkeye, even in her own show, which, as a Marvel fan, I watched one episode of Echo, one episode. I thought it was okay, but I was never inclined to watch more because all I wanted to watch was the Daredevil episode that he was in. I watched Echo primarily to see Daredevil, and I don't really care about the character. I'm sorry. Like, I know there's probably some fans out there who are fans of the Echo character. I'm just not a fan of this character. And plus, like, we already have characters like U.S. Agent. We have characters like Bucky Barnes. You know, characters who can do what Echo does, but even better, who add more to this roster and team than Echo ever can. And you know that's why Echo is number 34 on my list. Now, number 33, the new Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, the reason is, like, you could say, like, oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, they would definitely know if Doom was showing up. Yeah, but Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I believe, was the end of the Guardians trilogy. I think one day we might pick up a Guardians of the Galaxy 4, you know, maybe with, you know, like an Adam Warlock leading the team, but this version of the Guardians, I cannot see them ever, ever coming back. Like, I just don't think these characters would ever come back. Like, listen, you know, maybe Rocket and Groot come back, and maybe a small chance Adam Warlock, but I don't see these characters having a presence because first off, it was just like we ended with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't think people really are clamming to see another Guardians movie right now because Guardians of the Galaxy was one of the best trilogies I think Marvel has done, you know, at their studio. And I just don't think, you know, there's a reason for the Guardians of the Galaxy to show up in Avengers Doomsday. Like, narratively, like, I don't see where they fit in. Because you look at the movie, you look at the rosters we have. We have the Avengers. We have the Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts. We have the X-Men. Four different factions of superheroes will be in this film. And you put 5 in there. That's a lot of characters to like just introduce, get everyone caught up in their stories. Like, sure, in Infinity War, you had the Guardians, you had the Avengers, you had the Wakandans, you had a whole bunch of other factions. But this time there are so many different superhero teams now that like it's gonna be hard not to like be like, oh, the Guardians. Well, that's a lot of superhero teams. Like that's a lot to jumble in one script. So that's why I'm putting the Guardians of the Galaxy at number 33 on my list. All right, the next character, Quicksilver. Now, you might be wondering, wait, I thought Quicksilver was dead. Yes, but you're dealing with the multiverse, which means you can have certain characters come back. And Aaron Taylor Johnson's portrayal of Quicksilver is one of my favorites in the MCU. I loved Quicksilver. I still love him to this day. And I'm still pretty upset that they killed him off so early. I thought it was a really cool character. And of course, they've brought Quicksilver kind of back already in WandaVision, but that wasn't really the real Quicksilver. I would just kind of love to have this character back in the MCU. Like maybe have him on the X-Men world, because Quicksilver was part of the X-Men team in the 20th Century Fox universe. He was a member. We got to remember that he was a member of the X-Men. And I would love to just see this version of him show back up again. But I think it's very unlikely. I think it's a very, very low chance we see this character because, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think he's a tremendous actor. I think he was terrific in Bullet Train. Bullet Train is one of my favorite movies he's done. Great as Kick-Ass, great as Quicksilver. And then he did Kraven, which Kraven wasn't really the best. I didn't think it was the worst Sony movie, but it was definitely not the best Sony Spider-Man movie. That's why I have Quicksilver, Aaron Taylor Johnson, on this list at number 31. All right. The next character taking the number 30 spot, Red Hulk. After Brave New World, I really thought, that Red Hulk would actually become a member of the Avengers. He has been on the Avengers in the comics. But after Captain Brave New World, I thought I liked Harrison Ford in the movie. I thought he was one of the highlights of that movie. But I don't see how he would fit in. And the narrative reason for him being there is like, listen, they're just going to pull Red Hulk out of prison. Hey, Red Hulk, we got a bunch of X-Men coming to this universe. We're going to let you come out of prison, Mr. President, and we're going to have you help us deal with these X-Men and all these incursions. And Harrison Ford was like, what? Because personally, I don't think we'll ever see Harrison Ford again in the MCU. I think he did that one movie, that one film for Marvel. It's like, okay, I'll do one movie for you. I'll play this character. I'll do Red Hulk there. Maybe we see him come back in like another phase, but personally, seeing that we might have other Hulk-ass characters in here, it would be cool to have Red Hulk in here, but I think it's very, very low that we actually see this character again. Because, personally, I don't think Harrison Ford would want to do it. And personally, I think Captain America Brave New World is going to be something Marvel's going to be trying to, like, slide under the rug these next few years. Like, oh, that movie happened. We'll talk about it sometimes, but we don't really mention it. So, yeah, that's why I think Red Hulk takes the cake at number 30 on my list. All right. At number 29, Ironheart. I really don't like this character. I'm sorry. I thought her introduction was really bad. I am not excited at all for Ironheart. For Ironheart, the parts I'm excited for is that only that Anthony Ramos is in Ironheart. And, like, that is what gets me excited for her show because, it's Anthony Ramos. I love the man. He's part of the Transformers legacy. But I am not a fan of the character Riri Williams. Another problem with the MCU a lot of people have talked about is that it seems like everybody has an Iron Man suit. And it's like you got Falcon, basically an Iron Man suit. You got War Machine, basically, and he's an Iron Man as well. There's so many characters with just Iron Man suits running around. Ant-Man the Wasp, basically an Iron Man suit, if you really think about it. So that's why I got her right here. I don't think she's going to make an appearance in the film. I think, there's going to be a lot more characters besides Ironheart that's going to make an appearance in this film. And that's why at number 29, I have Ironheart. All right, guys. Next character. At number 28, you might be wondering who this is. I have Wonder Man. Yes, I feel like I'm like one of the only people in the world really excited for the Wonder Man show. I'm very excited to see this character. This character does have, relations to other MCU characters. In the comics, Wonder Man has a very, very close relationship with Scarlet Witch. There's been times when he's been part of he's had his own technological company where he's kind of been in fights with Tony Stark, about technology and all that. But the way they're going with the character is like he's like going to be an actor in the MCU, which I think is really, really cool. Now, since we have not seen this character, it is a very, very low, very, very low that we see this guy in the MCU. Now, would I love to see Yabul Mateen be fighting with his cosmic powers against Doom and all the X-Men? Yeah, I would. But audiences will not know the character. That's the thing with Disney Plus. You introduce a character on Disney Plus, people are like, oh, you see him in a movie. Oh, who's that guy? I don't know. I've never seen him before. I think, what we've seen so far from the casting for this Avengers movie, a lot of the actors will have been in movies. Now, it's like saying, like, well, Wyatt Russell's U.S. agent. He was in a Disney Plus show. Yes, he was. But he is going to be in Thunderbolts. So the audience will now know of that character when they watch Thunderbolts. So technically, he's gone from a TV show character to a movie character. There's no other project that we are going to see Simon Williams in, to make the audience get to know him, not being able to know the character. So that's why I have Simon Williams at number 28 on my list, aka Wonder Man. All right, the next character. Charlize Theron's Clea. Now, I don't have a lot of post-credit characters on this list. The reason why I included Clea was because remember, at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, she went to Doctor Strange and said, I need your help to stop incursions. Now, Clea, in fact, is the daughter of Dormammu, and of course, you got an actress in the caliber of Charlize Theron playing her, which I'm like, why will you not use this girl? Like, she is a great, great actress. But question still remains. Another thing, we have not seen her since. This has been the problem with these last few phases of Marvel. We introduce a character, and then we never see them again. Like, it feels like they just disappear from the MCU. That's been another problem with me. It's like, we introduce these characters, and they don't work. Marvel's like, let's just blow them away. Let's put them off the side. Now, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, I'm not the biggest fan of that movie. I thought it was okay. I haven't really been inclined to rewatch it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie. And a lot of people, when Charlize Theron showed up, they're like, who the hell is that? Like, people don't know. Because, first of all, she never said her name. She's like, I need your help, Doctor Strange. And we'll get to Doctor Strange later in the video. But I think if we're doing a multiversal type movie, there is a possibility Clea shows up with Doctor Strange, or it could just be Doctor Strange is on his own trying to stop incursions throughout the multiverse. And that's why I have Clea at this spot on my list. All right, on to 26. We have Elektra. Now, the reason why I'm putting Elektra from Deadpool & Wolverine on this list is because we already have a character from that movie showing up in Gambit. So there is a possibility that she does show up, but very low, because I think that mainly this movie is going to be dealing with the X-Men and Avengers fighting to save their world. And for those worlds merging, and that's going to be the huge conflict. There's not really a place for Elektra to be there unless, there is some version where Deadpool gets her, because at the end of Deadpool & Wolverine, the only ones we know who survive that the Void are Wolverine, Deadpool, X-23, and Gambit. Because Gambit, there's that little lead scene with him seeing a portal, which probably leads him into the X-Men's reality. Now, it would be cool to see her again. I really love Jennifer Garner. That Elektra movie is not good. It's not good. I'm saying it's not good. But I'm a huge fan of Jennifer Garner. I love whenever I see Jennifer Garner in anything, it's something I want to watch. Like even Elektra, Elektra wasn't the most badass in Deadpool and Wolverine, but it was still really, really cool to see that character show up again. And I love any character reacting to Daredevil and to any of those movies because say what you want about that Daredevil and Elektra movie. There were some moments when they were fun. I really loved the Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck relationship, even if in real life that relationship did not really end well. But that's why I have Elektra at 26 on my list. All right. The next character I have is another one we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine, Wesley Snipes' Blade. Like I said before, it's kind of the same over Elektra. This character does not really have anything to do with the X-Men. Sure, Blade has teamed up with the X-Men before. If you go back to one of the comic ones where Jubilee gets bit by Dracula, becomes a vampire, that's where Blade comes in and helps the X-Men. But if we're really doing a multiversal story about worlds collapsing, two worlds in particular, the X-Men 20th Century Fox world and the Avengers Earth, sure, the argument could say well, Blade was kind of part of that 20th Century Fox, type world. Like he could still be there and help them fight. I'm like, okay, but then you got to make the argument that okay, so if that's true, then what about Daredevil? Does Daredevil then show up? What about Ghost Rider? Can Ghost Rider show up? Like that opens the door, and like if you include that many multiversal characters, I have to believe that like it's gonna become too crowded. When I saw the cast from Avengers Doomsday, one of my concerns was, this movie might be too crowded. There's going to be a lot of characters in this movie, a lot of characters. And, I don't want this primarily to be a cameo-driven movie. I think there's a narrative purpose in why the X-Men are here and why we have certain Avengers here as well, and that they have to go against each other to save their worlds. And, maybe there's a place for Doom to play in this story, but I do think Blade is very low on that list to come in because I don't see a narrative purpose to why he is here. All right, on to the next character. Another Blade, Mahershala Ali. Now, I am putting him at 24 because there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. Blade has gone through production hell. Like, this movie was announced when entire Phase 4 was announced, and they haven't done anything since. And now Phase 5 is coming to an end. Phase 5 is coming to an end, and we're supposed to have a Blade movie. We don't. Now, I feel like they could introduce him. I think it would be very cool to be like, hey, Mahershala, we know we've been kind of lagging it in the Blade department with you. But how about this? We do a Black Panther with you. We introduce you in Avengers Doomsday. Like, you don't need to do much. You could just have like this mysterious guy show up. It's like, hello, Mr. Wilson. I am Blade, and I am here to help. Like, you could just have him, or you just do maybe a little nod to Blade somewhere. But I would love to see Mahershala Ali introduced because you have a talent like Mahershala Ali. I think he has been wasted so far that he has not gotten his movie yet, and I think he deserves to, maybe even if it's just a small thing, he deserves one time, even if it's just this once, to show up as Blade in the MCU. I would absolutely love it. I would love to see him, but I think it's very low because his movie has not come out yet, and we still don't know if Blade is even still coming to the MCU. So that's why I have Blade at 24 on my list. All right, the next character we got here. The next character we have right here. Elliot Page as Shadowcat. Now, I put this one low on the list not because I don't think it will happen, it's just the way I see them forming their X-Men team is very similar to the X-Men 97 team we got in the animated series. Now, it could be that the X-Men that we are seeing are not the 20th Century Fox X-Men, but the X-Men 97 X-Men, which makes sense. You already got Gambit, you got Cyclops, you got Beast. You have those characters already showing up, and those are very much X-Men 97 characters. And Gambit was never really interacted with characters like Cyclops or Beast. That was something we never saw. So with having those, I have to imagine they're trying to build a team similar to the X-Men 97 roster. And unfortunately, Shadowcat was not on that roster. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, she is at number 23 on my list, because I do think, with X-Men Legacy characters, you do have to have, her in there, because she was basically a really big part of the 20th Century Fox movies. Even in Days of Future Past, she played a really big role. Or he, sorry, me insensitive. It's he now. Sorry, sometimes I forget. And I think he is a very capable actor. I love Umbrella Academy. And Elliot Page in there. I love that character so much. I thought she is absolutely great in that show, and I'm surprised she doesn't get enough work as she does. Like, she is very talented. Like, she was in Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, and she was great in there as well. If you go back to one of, I think, her best movies is Juno. Like, she is a great, great actress. And it's not bad at talent, but it's a very low chance we see Elliot Page be in Avengers Doomsday. All right. At number 22, I have Scarlet Witch. Now, you might feel like, why do you have Scarlet Witch so low? She should be playing a vital part in this movie. Yes, I do. But Elizabeth Olsen has made it very clear she is not returning. And you could just say, like, oh, she's lying. She's doing the Marvel life thing, like Andrew Garfield saying, I'm not the werewolf. Like, but last time we saw her, she died. Listen, you can say, like, oh, no, she's alive. They wouldn't kill her like that. Listen, the last we saw her chronologically in the MCU, that she died. And Elizabeth Olsen has denied every time, saying, I'm not coming back. So at a certain point, you have to start to believe that Scarlet Witch is not coming back. Now, I do think if she is in the movie, there's one thing I want to see. I want to see her interact with Ian McKellen's Magneto. Yes, you're like, Ian McKellen's Magneto, why would you interact with that? Well, can't be accurate. She is the daughter of Magneto. We have not had Magneto in the MCU yet. And where this is going, like, I would just really love to see a wholesome scene between these two. Because Wanda is immune. She is immune. Like, we always forget that she is a powerful sorceress, but she is also a mutant. Her powers are mutant in origin. I've always thought the Infinity Stone that awoke her powers did not just only awaken her Scarlet Witch powers, but awoke the mutant gene resting inside her. We just haven't really mentioned it yet because they couldn't use the word mutant yet. I would love to see it, but I think it's very low we get her in this film because she has denied it. Elizabeth Olsen denied it every turn. And at a certain point, you've got to start believing that, maybe she's not lying. Maybe she is. Maybe I watch Doomsday a year from now and she's in the film. And maybe this surprises me. But for now, with everything Elizabeth Olsen has said, I do not think she appears in the movie. Sure, I would love her to be on screen with Ian McKellen and like kind of have, a nice moment between the two, being father and daughter. But maybe that doesn't really make sense because those two never interacted in the X-Men movies. And maybe I just want to see Scarlet Witch interact with the X-Men characters, because that's always something I wanted to see from Scarlet Witch. But that's why I have Scarlet Witch at number 22 on my list. And at 21, Moon Knight. Yes, I have Moon Knight here. Why? Why Moon Knight? For sure, you could say Moon Knight has similar skill sets in the vein of a Daredevil, in the same skill sets as a Captain America type character, being like someone who doesn't really have a whole lot to offer, but is very skilled in his area. I thought Moon Knight was okay. I thought the first 4 to 5 episodes were great. I think still a really great scene in that show was when Oscar Isaac is breaking down about his mom and how he had a mom who beat him. Like, that was a great episode. The finale did not stick. And a lot of people actually did not watch Moon Knight because they're like, I don't want it. Who is this guy? Oh, wait, another introduction to MCU character I don't really care about. I think it would be very interesting. Like, see, my dream still in the MCU is one day, Moon Knight gets to interact with characters like Blade, like Daredevil, maybe even Spider-Man, because there's some in the Ultimate comic run of Spider-Man. There are some really cool things that Moon Knight and Spider-Man talk about. How like Moon Knight doesn't really have a moral compass sometimes. Spider-Man's like, hey man, like you can't just go around killing people. He's like, and like he kind of has that conversation with Spider-Man. And I think Moon Knight is such an interesting character. I want to see him again. And I do think he actually fits in well with an Avengers type lineup, with him having a supernatural type characters and like being related to Egyptian gods and all that. Really, like you can go back and like have cool conversations with him and Thor. I think and Oscar Isaac. We all love Oscar Isaac. Guy is a great, great actor. So I do think there's a chance, but since we have not seen Moon Knight since his show, I think it's very, very low we see him in the movie. And, there's been no warning that he's going to be in the movie as well. All right. Number 20, The Punisher. Now, I love this character. Seriously, I think with the Netflix series, there's the two best characters they have ever done was Daredevil and Punisher. Listen, when I think of Punisher now, I think of John Bernthal. When I read a comic and I see Punisher in it, even if I go back to Civil War, the Civil War comic book, and I see the Punisher rescuing Spider-Man, I immediately think of John Bernthal's voice when I'm reading that comic. He is iconic. And I just want to see Punisher having, like, going up, seeing Dr. Doom. He's like, yeah, man, I don't care. He's like, I can fix things, Frank Castle. He's like, you can fix things, huh? Well, I don't really freaking care. Like, Punisher, I just want him to see him, like, being an asshole to every MCU character. And I would love to see him, like, it would be so cool to see him interact with, like, Captain America, seeing him with these god-type superheroes and being like, I don't give a shit. Like, that's, like, how cool he is. And, you can say what you say. Daredevil Born Again is in place in the MCU, even if it feels totally disconnected. But, like I said, this is another character that kind of has similar skill set to characters, like Yelena Belova, in that kind of same realm, using weapons. Would it be cool? Yes, but it has been very noted that, those Daredevil characters would not really be part of any Avengers movie. Still, I hope they're lying and saying they will be part of it, but overall, I do not think the Punisher will be in this movie, but I hope he is, if that makes sense in any way. All right. The next character I have on my list at number 19, Daredevil. Now, this is an interesting one because including me, a lot of people want him in Avengers. A lot of people. But Charlie Cox has said, like, listen, I'm not going to be in those Avengers movies. Daredevil was kind of its own separate thing. We have MCU references, but he will never really be part of that because it doesn't make sense for the character, which in a way makes sense. Daredevil is very street level. But don't you think it would be really cool, guys, to see Charlie Cox as Daredevil teaming up with characters, like Spider-Man, teaming up with characters like Shang-Chi, teaming up even with godlike characters like Thor and stuff. Like, still, I still have this sliver of hope that we get another announcement and Charlie Cox is announced to be in Avengers, which I would love. But there is a part of me that's like, Daredevil's kind of its own thing, Like, would it be cool? Yes. Does Daredevil really fit into a multiversal story? Not really, but you could say the same thing about Elektra. Elektra in Deadpool and Wolverine, no one thought that was going to happen. No one even ever talked about it. But it happened. It happened. And, Elektra is not a multiversal character. Well, same says about Daredevil. Daredevil is not a multiversal character who kind of deals in that world. He's a very grounded character. But that doesn't mean that he will not show up because you got to believe that, Sam Wilson and like all those characters are like looking at like, hey, there's a guy with horns running around Hell's Kitchen beating the crap out of people. Maybe he can help us in some certain things, Who knows? Maybe that's it. But that's why at number 18, I have Daredevil. All right. At number 17, another X-Men character, Shawn Ashmore as Bobby Drake, Iceman. Now, I have this here because, personally, there's a low chance again with him being in the movie because, like I said before, I think that Marvel is going to go for a more X-Men 97 type roster. That doesn't. Well, you also could say that Iceman actually did appear in X-Men 97, not X-Men 97, but in the original X-Men animated series. But he was, and he's been mentioned in the X-Men 97 series as being an original member of that X-Men team. But I just don't think it's a low chance. Another low chance for this character. Listen, I thought it was a low chance James Marsden would come back. I didn't even put it on my radar that Alan Cummings would come back as Nightcrawler. Who knows what can happen in this movie? They'd be like, yeah, Iceman's in the movie. Sean Ashmore, welcome back. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I wouldn't be surprised if all the X-Men 20th Century Fox characters came back. But we still don't know. We still don't know because what I've said, it looks like the X-Men team we're going to see in this movie is going to be very similar to the X-Men 97 roster. Now you're like, well, Nightcrawler's not on the roster. Remember, Nightcrawler did join the X-Men roster at the end of the show. He was teaming up with the X-Men after what happened on Genosha. He was part of the team. So that's another reason why I do think that, it is going to be very similar to the X-Men 97 team. And, Sean Ashmore, Iceman, was not on that team, but I really love the character. See, the thing about that was, in that movie, I loved the relationship of him and Rogue. I really did not like that they're like, let's shift him towards Kitty Pryde. I'm like, why? Why? You said that for 2 freaking movies that he was in love with Rogue, and then he's like, nope, I'm going to go switch over to Kitty Pryde. I'm like, no, that's not even chronologically right. Like, I get it. Like, in the comics, Iceman is someone who's been in relationships and in love with many people, including Polaris. There's points where, I believe, Havoc and Iceman even fought over Polaris, aka Laura Dane. Like we've seen in the movies, there's been stuff with Rogue. There's been stuff with other like non-X-Men characters as well. But I would love to see Sean Ashmore, but I think it's very low again that we see him in this film. All right. Now, on to the next. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Now, you would think I would have him higher on this list. You're like, why isn't he higher? Well, like a lot of people speculate, we are seeing an X-Men roster in this movie, similar to X-Men 97. But Hugh Jackman is the most well-known X-Men character. Wolverine, no matter what you say, no matter what I think, if Cyclops is even still my favorite character, I can admit that Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, is the most well-known X-Men character. And, Deadpool and Wolverine was great. It was great. I love that movie. I love that movie. Not the best Deadpool movie, though, in my opinion. I still think Deadpool 1 is my favorite Deadpool movie, but that movie was everything I wanted. And I loved that Hugh Jackman finally got to wear the yellow and blue suit. It was a long time coming, and it looked bloody fantastic. Now, I would love for him to be in this movie, not as the leader of the X-Men, because Cyclops, in my opinion, is the leader of the X-Men, but why do I have him so low on the list? Well, I have this man low. I don't have him super high because I think he's going to be in Secret Wars. Listen, I think we're going to get a lot of cameos in this movie in Doomsday. I think we're going to get a lot of cameos. But characters like Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, characters like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I think they saved those for Secret Wars. I really mean, because, guys, Doomsday is just part 1 of this multiversal Avengers story. You can't put all your cameos into one movie and be like, okay, Secret Wars, because Secret Wars is going to be cameo Palooza with everything with Battle World. If they go that route, that movie's going to be cameo Paloozas. I think you save Wolverine for that story, having, a Portals moment with all these other multiversal characters in Marvel's history come out to fight Doom together. I think you save him. I think there's still a possibility we see him because, who doesn't want to see Wolverine interact with characters like Cyclops as James Marsden? Again, interacting with Charles Xavier one final time. Ian McKellen, Alan Cummings, Nightcrawler, Magneto, even Mystique in a way, even Beast, who I love the line from X3 where it's like I don't really trust the government. And Beast is like, I've been fighting for government right since you were born, boy. And Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is like, You just call me boy. Like, that line was funny. Say what you want about X3, them that not being a great movie, but I do think they save Wolverine for Secret Wars. I do, but I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up in Doomsday, seeing we have this like X-Men 97 slash iconic X-Men character lineup in this movie. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. All right, on to the next one that I have here is Deadpool. Yes, Deadpool. Now, Ryan Reynolds has had a lot of stuff happen with him in the news right now. There's been a lot of stuff happening with him, with behind the scenes drama with what's going on with Blake Lively, but don't take that away. I still like Ryan Reynolds. I love him as Deadpool. No one else can play him. No one else can play Deadpool, in my opinion, besides Ryan Reynolds. He is Deadpool in a way. He made that character mainstream. And Deadpool Wolverine being the first R-rated movie to cross the $1 billion mark was a huge achievement. And I think it's actually the first $1 billion movie of his career. Now, you can say, we're already getting Channing Tatum. You're already getting X-Men type characters. I would love him to show up. I think, listen to me right now. I think it's very high we see him in this film. Listen, I'm talking about Doomsday, not Secret Wars. I think Deadpool's in Secret Wars as well, but who doesn't want to see Ryan Reynolds being with the X-Men? It's like, oh, golly, I finally get my dream. I got all of these X-Men, and look, they all decided to wear their damn costumes instead of black leather. Like, I want to see Deadpool, annoying the hell out of, Charles Xavier and Cyclops and whoever other X-Men characters show up, in this movie, and him, making, jokes, him going to Alan Cumming. It's like, oh, I didn't know you were back. He's like, and Alan Cummings, Nightcrawler's like, I've never been gone. It's like, oh, so they actually decided to pay you. Huh, Marvel. Huh. I want to see, those jokes with all the X-Men because I love the interactions, not just with Wolverine, but how he had with Gambit, where he's like, oh, look at this here, man, with Gambit, and then Deadpool goes, I'm sorry, who's your dialect coach? The Minions? That was one of the funniest lines. I laugh my ass off every time I hear that line. And I really think, you want to add comedy, Marvel's known for comedy, you add Deadpool in there. Now, I think I have him this low. I don't have him super high just because I think Wolverine and Deadpool you save for Secret Wars, because we all know Secret Wars is going to be Cameo Palooza. It is going to be Cameo Palooza. Now, like I said, Wolverine, we already got the X-Men showing up. How do you not put Deadpool in that category with those X-Men characters? But still, in my opinion, very, very low. All right. Let's go on to the next character, Weekend. Now, I have him above a lot of other characters. And you might be wondering, Weekend, why him? Now, like I said before with Elizabeth Olsen, she has said she is not coming back to play that character. I believe her at this point that she is not coming back. Now, if you need another person who can warp reality, maybe Loki's that, but someone in a similar vein of Scarlet Witch, you go and get Weekend. Now, of course, there is that leaked concept art out there with Weekend in there. I do think there's a point where we're going to see a Young Avengers / team be already together in this film. I do think so. And you've been introducing these Young Avengers type characters throughout these phases. If that's the Cassie Lang to Kate Bishop to even Miss Marvel. I have to believe that, if you want a character who can warp reality in a way Billy Maximoff can, he is someone that you have to include in the roster because, like Scarlet Witch, this man's immune. And like I said before, with him meeting Magneto, with Scarlet Witch meeting Magneto, that could be a very wholesome moment. But there is a really great moment in the Children Crusade comic run where Billy Maximoff meets his grandpa, meets Ian McKellen. Meets Magneto. And it's Magneto has always felt guilt for not, for not being there for his family. And Billy Maximoff, he does have a family, but right now he's alone. He's looking for his brother. He doesn't have a dad. I would love to see him interact with Magneto, of course, but that's why I have Billy Maximoff, aka Weekend, at number 15 on my list. All right, on to 14. We're getting to kind of the characters I think are almost like certain to be in the film. Kate Bishop. Now, I think Kate Bishop is going to be in the movie. Just because, like I said, I think we're also going to get a Young Avengers roster in this movie. Not a huge roster. I think it's going to be like 5 to 6 Young Avengers characters. Those including Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang, Miss Marvel, Weekend, maybe even Speed. Maybe even throw, if you want, Ironheart or Speed in there. But in the comics as well, Kate Bishop is the unaffected leader of the Young Avengers. She, in my opinion, she's the most like mature person who could lead the team. And of course, she has relations to Hawkeye. And I feel like Clint Barnes like, hey, Kate, I'm gonna need some help with this Avengers type stuff. Why don't you get your team and you help us out? Because you introduce these characters, you can't just not mention them. Because say what you want about the Hawkeye show. Like as a kid, I was also a really big fan of Hawkeye. I love the character. And, I did read those Matt Fraction, Hawkeye comics, which are really, really good. I think the show tried to adapt it. They didn't do the greatest job, but they tried. But I still came out of the show really loving Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. And I personally love Haley Steinfeld. Let's say I might have a little crush on her, to be quite honest, but I love Haley Steinfeld. She is great. That's to Arcane. If that's in Sinners, which she looks absolutely great. She looks like she is going to do great in Sinners. I can't wait for that. And I think she is a great Kate Bishop. Like again, like I talked about before with Punisher. When I read a comic, I hear John Bernthald's voice when I read a comic with Punisher in it. When I read a comic with Kate Bishop in it, even if I go back and read the Children's Crusade or even the Matt Fraction Hawkeye comic, I hear Kate Bishop's voice. I think it was a brilliant casting, and I can't wait to see where she continues to go in her career, but also excited to see her role possibly in Avengers Doomsday, and that's why I have her at 14. All right, at 13, I have Miss Marvel. I think after WandaVision, Miss Marvel is the best Disney Plus show, but a lot of people do not watch it. And she was the best part of the Marvels, and we know, like I said before, she is right now assembling that Young Avengers roster. Now, I also think she has a part to play because she has that connection to Captain Marvel and also Photon Monica Rambeau, which I'm going to get into why I think those are more likely than Miss Marvel. But also the concept art, with the recent episode of Daredevil, they're very much heavily like mentioning Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel, and I think Iman Vellani is absolutely brilliant in this role. Like, I actually, to be quite honest, when I first saw Miss Marvel in the medium of comics, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan. I thought the character was a bit, silly. I thought like, oh, she's just someone who references, Marvel stuff in the Marvel comics, and I'm like, okay, I'll check out Miss Marvel. Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel got me to love the character because, of course, I played the Avengers video game. I hated Miss Marvel in there. I thought she was so annoying. But Iman Vellani, she is so great as character. Like, trust me, and it's nice to know that we have an actor in the MCU who's like a generally really huge Marvel fan. And, she is someone who this was the first thing she ever did. And I think that's totally awesome and how she brings so much dedication in this role. I think she is great. I want to see her again. And I want her to be interacting with the Avengers and being like, oh, Captain America, hi. I know she is a Captain Marvel fan, but that doesn't mean she's gonna fangirl out when she sees characters like Hawkeye, like Captain America, even Thor in some way. So I think Miss Marvel is number 13 on my list because she's very lovable. People love the character, and I think Marvel is gonna have big plans for this character moving forward. And of course, she has her bangle, which has multiversal capabilities, which could relate into the plot of Doomsday, because I do think a part of Doomsday is going to be Robert Downey's Doctor Doom going to go get devices that can access the multiverse, like Shang-Chi's rings. I do think those are multiversal in nature. And then I also think her bangle very much having to do with the multiverse as well. All right. And the next character I got on my list is the Wasp at number 12. Now, for me, this is a definite confirmation because you can't have Ant-Man without the Wasp. And I think with multiverse, you gotta have characters like Hope Van Dyne here being able to explain what the multiverse is to certain characters, because we gotta remember only a few people in the MCU actually know about the multiverse. Captain America probably doesn't know about the multiverse, probably doesn't even understand it in a way. The Thunderbolts have no idea about the multiverse. Thor probably doesn't know anything about the multiverse as well. You need to bring in a character who can actually explain, okay, this is happening, that's happening. Sure, Doctor Strange could be that, but you have to have someone scientifically who can explain that. And say what you want about Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania, I still really love Evangeline Lilly as his character. I think we all do. Like, we all love Evangeline Lilly. She is great as this character. And, I do think in Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania, they really gave her nothing to do. Like, honestly, she was so wasted in that movie. That's why Ant-Man and the Wasp is honestly one of my favorite Ant-Man movies. I think it's the best one. Like, sure, the first one's great, but I really love that movie because it solidified, Evangeline Lilly's Wasp character. And, Wasp has been part of the Avengers. The Wasp is a very much OG Avengers character in the comics, and I think she will definitely be part of the Avengers along with Ant-Man. But that's why at number 12, I have the Wasp. All right, number 11, I have She-Hulk. Now, I have She-Hulk this high because there's been a lot of rumblings out there. That's the concept art. It's to actually, I think as fans, She-Hulk wasn't the best. But I think we still want to see Tatiana Maslany as his character again. There was a lot of problems with She-Hulk. If it was to therapy counselor Abomination, if it was to the jokes not landing. But I still love Tatiana Maslany as his character. I still love it. See, my argument is that I think the last 2 episodes of She-Hulk are great. I love the breaking the fourth wall, kind of Kevin Feige robot episode. I love the Daredevil episode. I think if the entire series was like that, it would have been much better. But it wasn't. It was not a great series. It was one of the only MCU shows I literally stopped watching and I picked it up to binge it when it was over. That's how bad it was for me. Where I didn't even want to watch the show. But you have to admit, She-Hulk, I think you need some power on this Avengers roster. You need power. Hulk is powerful, but he's like, bah, bah. We saw in Endgame, he's like, rah, ooh. He can't get mad. We've seen She-Hulk get mad. I think right now is the most powerful Hulk in the MCU. Maybe you do a World Breaker Hulk storyline in Avengers, but that's another thing with a very, very complicated plot if you want all these characters in here. But I think if you want to have a Hulk-themed character, and I think people want to see this character again. I personally want to see this character again. I want to see redemption for her because I think She-Hulk can be very interesting. And of course, you could, if you have Deadpool as well, you could have them both breaking fourth walls at the same time. You could have Deadpool breaking fourth walls in the X-Men universe, while you have She-Hulk breaking fourth walls in the MCU. So I do think number 11 I have on my list is She-Hulk. Now, at number 10, these are my top 10 characters I think are definitely going to show up in the movie. At number 10, I have White Vision. Yes, White Vision. I say this mainly because of the concept art. I still think that concept art is very real. And we have not seen Vision yet. And like I've been saying before, this Avengers team needs some firepower. They need some firepower. Vision would be firepower because this guy is really, really hard to beat. You look at him in Age of Ultron. Literally, he can lift up Thor's hammer. He was powerful. And the one thing in Infinity War I did not like is how they made him, so weak. And he was just, a victim in that entire movie, which I get. You need to, build some stakes for Scarlet Witch in that movie in order for her to participate in that movie. But as White Vision, you saw him, he literally almost cracked Wanda's skull open. Literally almost cracked her skull. Vision is powerful. And you want firepower, you want someone strong, you get Vision. And I do think that concept art is real. And we'll get into Star-Lord a bit later. And I'll also tell you guys more key ranks on my list, on this list. But I do think Vision is a definite must for this Avengers movie. I think he's going to play an important role. I think he's going to be play a pretty important role in this movie. All right. On to the next character. At number 9, I have Hawkeye. Now, I think Hawkeye is just because you need a veteran leader on this Avengers team. Who is more of a veteran than Hawkeye? Listen, if you go into the Avengers comics, even if you go into comics like West Coast Avengers, or this this there was this comic I think I read like a few years ago where it's like Kate Bishop had her own version of the West Coast Avengers, and they would bring in Clint Barnes Hawkeye. He'd be like, "Hey, can you mentor us?" Like, I honestly think that right now the Hawkeye character is going to be a mentor type character. I don't want them to die. Even at point, even if they do go the House of M route in the comics, where Hawkeye is killed by the Scarlet Witch, that would be pretty cool to see. But right now, we don't even know if Scarlet Witch is going to be in the movie because Elizabeth Olsen keeps denying the rumor she's in the film. And I think we're going to see. And if you have like OG characters, like evil versions of each other, like Tony Stark, who's now Dr. Doom, or even if you have Chris Evans possibly coming back as maybe a Captain Hydra, Hawkeye was the most normal guy in that Avengers roster. And I think you have him on the team because he presents, this normalcy to the group. Sure, you have guys like Captain America Sam Wilson, who is normal in a way, but he still wears a red and blue outfit and has wings. Hawkeye is a guy who shoots bow and arrows. Like he said before, like, all I do is shoot bow and arrows, guys. That's all I can do. And of course, I loved him. I loved Hawkeye in Endgame. I loved him. Him being Ronin was probably a dream come true for mine because I am a huge fan of the Ronin character. I'm just so upset we wouldn't get like any more of him as Ronin. But that's why number 9, I think Hawkeye is a definite for Avengers Doomsday. Now, number 8 here, I have Monica Rambeau as Photon. Now, originally, if we did not have that Marvel live stream, I would have said Monica Rambeau would probably be in maybe the 20 spot on this list. I have her here now because of the X-Men. At the end of the Marvels, if we all remember, Monica Rambeau was in a universe with the X-Men, where we saw Kelsey Grammer as Beast. Yes, we saw Kelsey Grammer as Beast. I gotta believe that is the universe that these X-Men will be from. Like, it's not gonna be a 20th Century Fox, they're gonna be wearing the same suits, they're gonna look exactly the same. No, I think it's gonna be, listen, fans want the X-Men. People want them. People love those X-Men movies. They are really a big part of a lot of Marvel fans' childhood, including mine. Why don't we put Monica in this, like, comic accurate X-Men universe where, we have Cyclops in the blue and gold, we have Nightcrawler with his swords in the black and red suit. We have Magneto in the purple and red, suit. I think it's going to look like that, and it's first to tell the fans, we know you want it. This is here, but you also need someone from the MCU in that universe, because you have Monica Rambeau saying like, "Hey, why not? Don't fight my world. Work together to try to find a way to coexist. To save your worlds. Like, you guys got smart people. Like, you on my world, we got smart people too. We got the capabilities of characters like Evangeline Lilly's the Wasp. We have super intelligent characters who we can work together. Like, maybe she is the medium that kind of tries to negotiate peace between these two worlds. But of course, we're not going to end up fighting somehow. And I think it's be very cool. Kind of how, like, if you guys remember, like, in No Way Home, when Tom Holland's like, "I know it's not a big deal, but I'm in the Avengers," and then they go to Toby and Andrew. Like, that's so cool. What is that? And I kind of want that kind of scene with the X-Men where Monica's like, "Hey, you guys might not want to fight there because guess what? The Avengers will stop you." And you see the X-Men's like, "Cool. What the hell are the Avengers?" And she's like, "You guys don't have the Avengers?" They're like, who are they? I would love like her to explain the Avengers in her universe to the X-Men, and X-Men they're like, "You sure they're not just us, but suckier?" Like, I kind of want that interaction with that, and maybe Monica joins the X-Men. Who knows? But I'm excited to see her. I think she's a definite must for this Avengers Doomsday film. All right, the next character I have on my list is Frankie Jansen as Jean Grey. Now, like I've said before, there are some X-Men characters that we've had in 20th Century Fox, like Iceman, like Kitty Pryde, who have a very low chance showing up in the movie. Listen, You already have my boy Cyclops in here. You got to get his girl Jean Grey in here. And if you're gonna have Wolverine as well, you got to have her in here as well. Listen. Jean Grey is a very complicated character, especially in the movies. They haven't done the Dark Phoenix saga quite right, and you could say, hey, Jean Grey died, but I love how they did Jean Grey in X-Men 97. Having her kind of be the mother role, and her kind of compliment, trying to figure out who she really is. With having her Madeline Pride. But I really love this character. I think Frankie Jansen, I think she's very underrated. I really loved her as this character. And, I want to see her have the headband. Like, just as much as I want to see Cyclops have his blue and yellow suit and him actually be a leader of the X-Men, besides as a guy who just gets kicked to the curb because Wolverine's there. I think if you already have if you already have James Marsden, you already have Alan Cummings, you already have Kelsey Grammer, you already have a Channing Tatum's Gambit, there's no question that she shows up in this movie. Like, there's no question. Like, she is Jean Grey. Jean Grey. Like, I've always thought that the one holding the X-Men together is not Professor X. It isn't Cyclops. It's always been Jean Grey, because if you look at, like, after the Phoenix saga in the comics, the X-Men were a mess when she died. Like, even Storm, Storm sees her as a sister. You have Cyclops, like, they have, like, it's love of his life. Even Wolverine, that's also kind of the love of his life. She is kind of the glue that keeps the X-Men together. So I think it's very important, if you have Cyclops, you also need to have Jean Grey, and they're kind of being, the second in command to this X-Men roster. And of course, you already put in legacy characters in here. You got to have Frankie Jansen as Jean Grey as well. And that's why I have her at number 7 on my list. All right. At number 6 right now, at number 6, Halle Berry as Storm. Listen. I was surprised they did not announce Halle Berry at that event. Listen. If you want to talk about one of the fans' favorite characters from those X-Men 20th Century Fox movies, you got to put Halle Berry on there. Like, not only is she insanely beautiful, like, she is an insanely beautiful woman. Like, I think, like, when I was a kid, I majorly had a crush on Halle Berry, like, watching X-Men. But she is great as Storm. Like, I loved her as Storm. Sure, she has that really cheesy line in X-Men. X-Men 1's like, do you know what happens to a toad when they're struck by lightning? And, like, it was like one of those cheesy comic book lines. But I think when Storm was her most powerful was when we saw her in X-Men Days of Future Past. Listen. She's literally, like, using thunderstorms to take down Sentinels, like hundreds of Sentinels that, like, have killed, the X-Men characters in that time, like, multiple times. Like, Storm is a powerhouse. She is an alpha, omega mutant. You have to have her in this movie. And like I said before, if you already have James Marsden, if you already have Alan Cummings, already have Kelsey Grammer, already have Channing Tatum, you have to have Storm in there. And of course, this is what I want. I don't want Storm. I don't want the black suit Storm, which I love that look for her. I want the Mohawk white suit Storm. That's what I want. I love that Storm. I love, one of my favorite moments in X-Men 97 is when Cyclops goes in and he's like, bring the thunder. And you see her just walking, and she's throwing down her lightning, making glass on the ground. And she's like, I summon the spirits of the winds. And she basically takes out all the Sentinels. Of course, in this movie, I think it'd be really cool if they had, like, a line like that for Storm, where she's like, I summon the goddess of the winds, be by my side. Whoa! Like, that would be really cool to see. I love Halle Berry in the Storm. Yes, in the chat, give him the forecast. Like, oh my god! And the Avengers just look up and they see this goddess just raining down, like, these thunder waves, and Thor's like, I think we might have a problem here. And he's like, why can't you do that? He's like, I can't do what she does. Like making, like, she is going to be the deciding factor if the X-Men beat the Avengers. Because, like, there's not a lot of people who can stop her. Like, she is unstoppable. And, of course, you could do Storm and some Wakanda things as well. But maybe that doesn't really, play into the story. Maybe that kind of makes the story a bit more, confusing. Because, in the comics, T'Challa does marry Storm. And there's, like, a whole thing with that. And, I don't think T'Challa is going to be in this movie. I think T'Challa is going to be in Secret Wars. I think that's when we get her. But I think that a definite must, number 6 on my list, Halle Berry as Storm. Now, these are my top 5 characters that I think are definitely going to be in this movie. Number 5, Anna Paquin as Rogue. Now, you might be wondering, why do you have her above Storm? Well, they confirmed Gambit. They confirmed Gambit for Doomsday. You got to think, well, if they got Gambit in here, who is Gambit's significant other and the one we associate with Gambit? And that is Rogue. Rogue. Now, Anna Paquin as Rogue wasn't my favorite character in the 20th Century Fox movies. I thought, they made her a bit weak because you look at Rogue in the X-Men animated series, even in X-Men 97, she is a powerhouse. Like, she has the abilities of Captain Marvel. She can fly, but she can absorb any person's power. And the one thing I want from this film, I want some sweet moments between Anna Paquin and Channing Tatum. Like, if she is in the movie, I want, like, him to go like, "Hey there, Cher. How you doing, Cher?" And, like, Rogue using her southern accent, like, "Oh, Gambit, nice to see you again, hun." Like, oh my God, like, if I get to see that on screen, because I love Rogue and Gambit's relationship. I love that relationship as much as I love the Jean Grey Cyclops relationship. I want some sweet, tender moments. Like, I want us, because as an X-Men fan, whenever I think of Gambit, I think of Rogue. And you got to have those two together. That's why at number 5, I definitely have her showing up. And like Storm, she is a major powerhouse. She is someone who can go toe-to-toe with Captain Marvel. Like, if Captain Marvel is in the movie, you don't really have any other X-Men character who can go toe-to-toe for her. Like, sure, Storm can go toe-to-toe with Captain Marvel, but she's got to deal with Thor. Who are you going to get to deal with Captain Marvel? You get Rogue, and then you get to dive deep. Have fans be like, "Oh my God, it's Rogue versus Captain Marvel," just like in the comics. Like, people will be happy about it, but I think people will be more happy to see a Gambit and Rogue on screen together. And Marvel, give her the jacket, give her the green suit, and don't give her like the one strand hair. Give her like the fluffy hair. Like, I love Anna Paquin. I think she is a tremendous actress. She recently did a movie with Zachary Levi. I think it was called American Underdog. And it was like the first time I had seen Anna Paquin in a long time. She is great. I love her in that movie. That role is really great for her. And I think, if they can kind of retool the character of Rogue, putting her in a universe with Gambit where she's like all lovey-dovey with him, I would very much like that. And like I said, I think Marvel for the X-Men in this movie are going to have an X-Men 97 type roster, because those are the characters people love and people remember the most, because everyone loves X-Men. Everyone loves X-Men the animated series. Sorry about that, guys. I need some water real quick. And like, people love X-Men 97. Listen, X-Men 97 really did feel like the Rogue show. Like, really, it was showed like why Gambit and Rogue love each other so much. They love each other so much. And when she lost Gambit, we all saw what happened. She started not to give a flying F about who was in her way. Like, she threw Boulevard Trask off a building, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, Rogue, why'd you do that?" And she's like, "He deserved it. He deserved to die for what he did." Like, I just want Anna Paquin in this movie to see her interact with Gambit, Channing Tatum. I just want to see that relationship on screen. And I think, honestly, Channing Tatum wants that to happen as well. So that's right. Number 5 on my list, I have Anna Paquin as Rogue. At number 4, I have the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Now, like I said, this kind of goes back to Thor and Hawkeye. Listen, there's only 3 living OG Avengers. You gotta have Hulk in the mix here. Like, he's gonna be very important. Like, To me, I want to see him and Beast like having some chassis like and like Hulk's like, oh, you know all this about the multiverse, Hank McCoy. He's like, fascinating. I did not know there were other giants like myself on different worlds. This is very interesting. And like, sure, say what you want about Smart Hulk. Smart Hulk was a terrible decision. I loved Rage Hulk, him going off being the ass out of Thor, even him fighting the Hulk Buster, was awesome. Even I think Ragnarok was the best Hulk we saw because he was literally fighting an alien wolf. Like that was awesome. I would love for them through these next two movies to turn Hulk back into Savage Hulk. Because listen, Hulk is the man you send in when there's nothing left. Sure, you can say Sentry is that. You can say Sentry is that. In these movies, I would love them to turn Hulk back into Savage Hulk. Something happens to Bruce Banner where the angry Hulk inside him unleashes and he can't control the nice Hulk anymore. And you're gonna need something like that. Like I said, the Avengers do not have a lot of power on their roster right now. Even if you put Hulk on that roster, he's not a powerhouse character anymore. Like Hulk is not someone who is a powerhouse character. He is someone that, is just nice. He's not strong. If you go back to Endgame, and we see like Hulk trying to pretend to be Savage Hulk. He's like, like we have not seen Hulk have a really awesome action sequence since, in my opinion, Infinity War, where he got his ass beat by Thanos. I want to see a Hulk who gets mad, who gets angry. Maybe this is what you do: you kill his son, you kill Scar, and then after that, what happens is he just gets so full of rage, that inner anger, that angry Hulk that he used to be comes out. He just wreaks havoc on the X-Men, wreaks havoc on Doom. Like, that's what I want to see. So at number 4, I have the Hulk. At number 3, I have Star-Lord. Now, you got to remember, in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, we're all sitting there. We just bawled our eyes out over a trash panda. And at the end of the movie, it says, the legendary Star-Lord will return. Now, I'm mainly having this high because of the leaked concept art we got with him in the Vision and him with Wong and the Young Avengers. But I do think, if you're going to include someone from the Guardians of the Galaxy, it's got to be Star-Lord. Listen, I know him and James Gunn, Chris Pratt and James Gunn, are like besties. They're like best friends. But I think there's no salt between Marvel and James Gunn. Like, there isn't. I think if Chris Pratt's like, hey, James, they want me to come back and play Star-Lord in Avengers. Like, would you be okay with that? He's like, yeah, man. Like, James Gunn's the type of guy's like, yeah, man, go do that. Like, James Gunn just wants good projects out there. And I think he would come back. I think Star-Lord is what made, in my opinion, Chris Pratt a movie star. Like, he was already a funny guy. Like, Parks and Rec, that man is hilarious. Like, you go back to Parks and Rec, I still go back to the episode with Parks and Rec, where Chris Pratt is I think Nick Offerman's assistant, and he goes like, hey Ron, you ever have the beef tornado? And he's like, you had me at beef tornado. And I laughed so hard because they're eating. They're like, this is the best thing of meat I have ever had in my entire life. And he's a trans funny actor, and I would love to see Chris Pratt actually interacting with other Avengers type characters. We saw in the concept art, he was around Vision. We also saw, him with the Young Avengers. I would love for him to go Young Avengers. I want him to go to the Young Avengers and be like, I'm a big deal, I help save the world. And they're like, who are you? I'm Star-Lord, man. Like, don't you know me? I formed the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like, who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? They're like, come on, man. We're like we're like the Space Avengers. And they're like, okay. And I just want him to be overhyping himself, have his ego be like, hey, you know who I am, right? I'm a big deal. But I think at number 3, I have Star-Lord because I think after that post-credit scene in the concept art that he is a definite for this film. All right, now we're last to the top 2. The top 2. I mean, sorry. The top 3. We still got 3 more. Sorry. Star-Lord was number 4. Okay, number 3. Doctor Strange. Now, I say Doctor Strange because originally Benedict Cumberbatch had said he was not going to be in Doomsday. Changed his mind, said he was going to be in Doomsday. But unfortunately, his chair wasn't there on Wednesday when we all were watching a 5-hour stream of chairs. Felt like we were at the DMV, honestly. But you want someone who has a relationship in the multiverse, someone who has altered the multiverse, who has been to other realities, who has come in contact with other multiversal variants. You gotta go Doctor Strange. Like, last time we saw Doctor Strange, he was traveling the multiverse with Clea, trying to stop incursions. And what is happening in Doomsday? Well, one of the biggest incursions. The Avengers and X-Men worlds are colliding, and somehow he's got to figure out a way to stop him. Now, also, in the Secret Wars comics, Doctor Strange has a really big part to play. He is kind of the warden of Doctor Doom. He is his trusted advisor in the Secret Wars comic. And, he is the one who kind of, aids Doom. Like, sure, like, Doctor Strange did not alter reality. That was old Doom. But his mind was warped through that reality that he was an advisor to Doom. And he had gone out and collected all these artifacts in Secret Wars. And, Doctor Strange, is your kind of best line of defense in these multiversal incursions. Like, look, he's dealt with the No Way Home incursion. He dealt with incursions when America Chavez came to Earth and Wanda was messing with reality. And now he's off with incursions with Clea trying to fix the timelines. Now, I did have Clea earlier in the video. I just think, it's possible Clea does not show up just because, you could say like, oh, we don't even mention her because that was a post-credit scene people probably don't really remember. But Doctor Strange, I think, is going to play the main role of stopping these incursions during Doomsday. All right. The next character at I believe this is number 2. Yes. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel. Now, before Captain America Brave New World, my main thought was Sam Wilson, Captain America, should lead the Avengers. I'm still a little bit in that mind that he should be leading the Avengers, but I think the next best option, if you don't want to go with him, Marvel, you go with Captain Marvel. Listen. You could say maybe she doesn't lead because she's always off-world doing whatever she does. Like, she's always doing something. Like, she's always, like, saving another civilization, and she comes to Earth to pop in and check in. I think that when we pick up a Captain Marvel in this movie, she is going to be trying her hardest to find where Monica is. That's going to be her whole goal. Like, where is Monica? Because she owes it to Maria to find where Monica is. Because Monica, in a way, is like her adopted daughter. Like, she cares about Monica so much. And even if The Marvels was a subpar movie, I didn't think it was the worst movie. I think The Marvels is a lot better than Brave New World. But, still, definitely a lot of people did not watch it. People, I think are really mean to Brie Larson. I think, listen. When they announced Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, I thought it was a great choice. I still stand by that decision. I think she is a great Captain Marvel. Like, she really, when I read Captain Marvel comics today, like, she really is, like, the voice I hear when I read that comic as well. And I think she gets a lot of hate because people is like, oh, she's very, stiff when she does her scenes. Like, she's always like that. I'm like, that's Captain Marvel for you guys. Like, Captain Marvel comes from a military background. And I think people forget, she's like Steve Rogers in a way. She is from a military background. She has those military instincts installed in her. And, in comics before, she has led the Avengers. And, she's had some relationship with some Avengers like War Machine. And I really love Captain Marvel. See, I still really love that first Captain Marvel movie. I actually really love that movie. I've watched it multiple times. I really enjoy it. Like, I have all the Funko Pops from that movie. I know it's very nerdy, but I do. I really love that film. I think The Marvels was a bit of a step down from it. I do think it was, but I still enjoy this character. I think she is your big powerhouse character to go against Doom. Like, look, she took on Thanos. And nearly beat him. Like, even Thanos couldn't beat Captain Marvel without an Infinity Stone. So you need someone like her who, if you don't have a Hulk there, you need someone who brings the house down. That is Captain Marvel. I think that's why she's got to be on this team. And that's why I have her at number 2. Now, there's only one character you guys got to know that I have at number 1. There's only one guy who's got to be here, who I think is going to be the main lead of this movie. And this is this man right here. Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Now, we have Spider-Man 4 in production right now. We have that going on. We got some casting with Sadie Sink in there, possibly playing a MJ or Gwen Stacy or Black Cat, who knows? You need some connection to Doctor Doom. You need some emotion there. See, I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow is going to come back and play Pepper Potts. I don't. Well, who's the next option who has such one of the closest relationships to Tony? That is Spider-Man. Peter Parker saw Tony as a father. That's who, and when he lost Tony, we saw in Far From Home how much that trauma was reeling in him, how much it hurt, that it kind of feels like to him, everyone who gets close to him dies. That's what I love about the MCU Spider-Man, that every time something's going good for him, something worse happens and he loses someone. That is something that I really love about this MCU Spider-Man. And I think if you want, Peter, when Peter sees Doom, when Peter sees him, he's like, Tony, you're alive. And he's like, who the hell's Tony? My name is Victor. And you see him destroying everything. And Peter's like, listen, you're not this person. I know you. And you had this like kind of budding, religion where Doom is supposed to be this all-knowing bad guy. But Peter sees him as the guy who mentored him, the guy who took a chance on him, the guy who was kind of a father to him in a way. And of course, we got Spider-Man 4, like I said, coming in between. And Spider-Man is the guy in the MCU right now. Like, he is the main guy everyone loves in the MCU. Like, he is the Tony Stark of the MCU right now. Like, he is their best character they have available. And, you got to have him in the movie. And I was surprised not to see his name on the chair. I was. So, on this list of characters, I believe that Tom Holland is the character. Spider-Man is going to be the main guy we're seeing in this movie. And with all that out of the way, guys, that is my list for the top characters that we will see in Avengers Doomsday, ranking from least to greatest. Now, leave your comments on the video, like, comment, subscribe, do all that, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. And thank you so much for all the people who are participating in the chat. I'm going to call you out right now. Brandon Metro, I love for the support. Love you checking out this video, and I love your love for X-Men as well, as much as I do, and our love for our boy Cyclops as well. So thank you so much for watching this live stream. See you guys next time.